And we continue at 2:06 in the afternoon. Talk Radio 790 KABC, the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wangs in Culver City.
You know, I think things are starting to get back to normal, at least when it comes to the drops folder on this show. There was so much breaking news for so long, there really wasn't anything to make fun of. But we've had some pretty good drops come in the folder today.
Oh, the customers get upset because the ham goes bad. Well, the clients that I talk to says I'd rather lose the ham than lose the house.
And then, of course...
What are some of your concerns?
Crime.
I love that one.
We're off to a good start this year.
For a while, I was like, when we do our recap at the end of the year, I got nothing for January.
You never know. Some months produce riches, and some months are pretty lean. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. One of the made-up jobs that you see on occasion on cable news is that of a fact checker. The cable news stations, most notably CNN, I think they have in-house fact checkers, say that there's a lot of fake news out there. There's a lot of lies and untruths that are spoken by those who are in power. And if we have fact checkers who are there, who are checking everything that the politicians, specifically Donald Trump, what he's saying is true, we can tell you if he's saying something that is factually correct or is factually incorrect. The problem with these professions, I know it sounds good on paper, is that the fact checkers frequently need fact checkers. Because it's not very often where you have a public person who goes on TV and says something that's an outright lie. Typically, what happens is you're dealing with bias. You're dealing with framing. You're dealing with presentation. And I worked at CNN. I'm well aware of this. You can say something that is entirely true, but entirely misleading, or biased towards one point of view or another. For example, Barack Obama and Donald Trump both originally ran for office for president as being opposed to gay marriage. When Barack Obama changed his position on gay marriage, look at the headlines. If you can't sleep tonight, you want to play around on Google, go ahead. The headlines were essentially saying, in historic move, Barack Obama becomes the first president to endorse gay marriage. And he was celebrated because politically that's where most of these networks are, and he took a position that was similar to the position that they hold. So they heaped praise on him. When Donald Trump did it, instead of saying, in historic move, Donald Trump becomes first Republican president to endorse gay marriage, they said, Donald Trump breaks yet another campaign promise. I guess it's true. So you can't say that they outright lied, but you're dealing with essentially the same act. Candidate for office, president of the United States, supports gay marriage, and you have one spin that's entirely positive and one spin that's entirely negative. Well, what's a fact checker going to do with that? What CNN said was true, but it was meant to manipulate you into being positive towards Obama and negative towards Trump. Well, now it's not just the cable networks that are looking for fact checkers. Different politicians are trying to get in on the action, including California Governor Gavin Newsom.
When news of the fire started developing into stories that Gavin Newsom didn't like, he decided to launch a fact-checking website to downplay all the, as Gavin Newsom loved to say, hurricane force winds of misinformation, which I think was tasteless and crass to begin with. But here's the problem. CBS News just fact-checked Gavin Newsom's fact-checking website.
And Gavin Newsom's fact-checking website, by the way, doesn't send you to the state of California. It sends you to his campaign website.
For more on the fact-checking of the fact-checking of the fact-checking of the fact-checking, here's CBS News.
Welcome back to
This aired nationally.
Welcome back to America Decides. Thanks for staying with us. CBS News Sacramento investigative reporter Julie Watts and the CBS News Confirm team have combined forces to fact-check Governor Gavin Newsom's, that's California Governor Gavin Newsom's website designed to combat what he and others in his administration describe as wildfire misinformation. Here's some of what they found.
By the way, I love the way that this is framed because this was originally something that aired on CBS 13 in Sacramento, and the national CBS News looked at it and said, we're picking that up and taking it national because they're not covering for Gavin.
And what's interesting is now that the fires are on the front page of the newspapers, not just locally, but nationally, and the networks are sending their correspondents in, they're not part of the clique of California reporters that relies on Gavin Newsom for information so that they can do their job. And they're showing up and they're going, what the hell is going on here in California? And CBS News, of all shops, has probably been the most critical of the state and local politicians here.
It's been a reporter from CBS that Karen Bass got into fights with what it seemed like every single day, and she never came out of any of them looking better.
Nope.
Let's hear the fact-checking.
Yeah, Governor Newsom set up his own fact-checking website to counter what he calls lies about California's wildfires. But they're not all lies, exactly. So we asked our CBS News Confirm team to fact-check the governor's fact-check.
I don't think Gavin expected this from CBS.
No, he didn't.
I ask you, we've got to deal with this misinformation. There were hurricane force winds of mis and disinformation lies.
That was something he said on Zoom to then President Biden.
And it sounds like someone's making a mocha at Starbucks in the background.
Well, again, this was picked up from CBS 13, so there's going to be a little small-town hackery in it. But the report is very good. I think that's supposed to be static.
Okay.
You know, for the people that still watch TV with an antenna, which is nobody.
Suddenly I'm thirsty for a mocha, though.
I ask you, we've got
I think that has more to do with you than the story, Johnny.
Could be.
I ask you, we've got to deal with this misinformation. There were hurricane force winds of mis and disinformation lies.
Isn't it just a tad tasteless when there were literal hurricane force winds to say there were also hurricane force winds of misinformation?
And if you go back to those initial complaints, what he was calling for was the ability to censor people on social media.
Misinformation after a disaster is nothing new, but Governor Newsom's approach to combating
Ask Rosie O'Donnell.
Governor Newsom's approach to combating it certainly is. He set up his very own fact-check website using his personal domain. Interestingly, he never directly fact-checks President Trump. You might call it social media diplomacy. Instead,
he wants to make sure that wallet gets opened.
Yes, he does.
And it was interesting, too, because at this presser yesterday with Magic Johnson, he got asked all kinds of questions about the national headlines, and he was not taking the bait because he knows if he doesn't play nice right now, no money.
No, and this is not the attention that he wants on the CBS Evening News. He wants positive, laudatory coverage. He definitely wants them talking about him, but he doesn't want to be spoken of in this context.
What would be the positive, laudatory coverage of Gavin Newsom's governorship?
Well, if you're being truthful, there should be none.
Hey, we spent a whole bunch of money and the state got worse.
Instead, he fact-checks posts from people who echo the president's sentiments. While some of his...
See, they had to put those sound effects of, like, people's emails coming in.
Oh, yeah.
This is a good job.
While some of his fact-checks are easily verifiable, like the Hollywood sign was not on fire, others require some new...
Wait, so he's fact-checking memes?
Why would you fact-check a meme?
Did anyone believe the Hollywood sign was on fire? I mean, no, Runyon was on fire for a minute there, but I don't think anybody seriously thought the Hollywood sign was on fire.
So he's fact-checking teenagers that are playing around with memes.
Yep.
Others require some nuance, which brings us to fact check number 1. Did Governor Newsom cut California's fire budget ahead of the LA fires? Newsweek was first to publish the headline, but the governor didn't respond until it was picked up by Fox News.
Because that's what he watches.
With a giant bottle of wine. Not a glass of wine. That guy drinks straight from the bottle.
Poor stupidity and stunning incompetence from California's Democrat leaders.
Newsom called the reports that he cut California's fire budget by $100 million in the months before the fire a ridiculous lie. Except it's not a lie.
This is what he does. And typically, the old LA Times would just verify whatever claim that Gavin Newsom made and attack whoever it was that was making the claim. Not anymore.
Except it's not a lie. Let's start with the governor's fact check. It is a fact that since he took office, the number of CAL FIRE personnel and CAL FIRE's budget has increased significantly. It did not double. It is also a fact that Newsom did cut more than $100 million in supplemental wildfire-related funding last year. Here's the budget. It includes $12 million in cuts for home hardening, $5 million for prescribed fires and hand crews, but the bulk of the cuts were for biomass pilot and conservation projects, so it's unlikely these cuts would have actually impacted the LA fires.
But he did cut the budget. Had to. We were at a massive deficit.
Yes. So it's not fake news. It's real news. It may not be real news that impacted the ability to respond to these particular fires, but it is a true claim.
Now to fact check number 2. Did California run out of water?
Yes.
There was no water in the fire hydrants.
Now to
Even Gavin is investigating what the hell happened with the DWP because there's still no answers from the woman who is making $750,000 to run that outfit.
Now to fact check number 2. Did California run out of water?
For the sake of the smell, they have no water. They had no water in the fire hydrants today in Los Angeles. It was a terrible thing.
Instead of fact-checking the president, the governor fact-checked a post from Libs of TikTok.
So he's fact-checking memes, teenagers, and libs of TikTok.
Saying there's no water coming out of the hydrants because the city didn't fill the reservoirs. As the governor notes, in fact, the reservoirs in California are full, and there's no water shortage in Southern California. In fact, state data shows that all but 3 of California's major reservoirs are at or above historical averages.
How about all those reservoirs we never built that we budgeted for with the law that was passed in 2014 by the voters?
And how about the one that was relevant for fighting this particular fire?
Oh, they're getting there.
But the 117 million gallon reservoir nearest the Palisades fire was out of service when the fires began.
So there was no water.
Bingo.
Newsom said he's launching an independent investigation.
So once again, that's not a fact check.
No, the claim is true.
Now, it's worth noting that the reservoir is not the reason the fire hydrants ran dry. According to LA city officials, they did have 3 1-million-gallon water tanks feeding those hydrants, but those tanks ran out of water by the second morning of the firefight. They say it wasn't due to a lack of water, but rather unprecedented demand. They say they couldn't fill the tanks fast enough.
Every single time they are asked about this, they change the answer.
There is an investigation that's going on at the state level because the governor claims he received any number of stories explaining why there was no water, and none of them validate the other. They're all different theories.
You had Biden going on national television when he was still president saying, oh, it's because DWP shut off the power and the pumps weren't working.
Not all of them can be true.
To get enough water pressure to then feed back to those hydrants. So a lot of important context and nuance here.
So Gavin's fact-checking website, not so factual.
Nope. And no one in this audience is surprised. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, with the end of the show quickly approaching, if you want to continue listening to us after we sign off, that's easy to do.
Like if you want to hear more episodes of us bagging on Gavin, go to KABC.com, click on podcast, go to the Apple Podcast app, iHeart, Spotify, search for The John Phillips Show, hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes.
We've leaned in.
You could do a Google on the YouTube.
Google it.
Or get that handy-dandy KABC app.
I mean, this is the dumbest stuff I've ever heard.
Search KABC AM in the Apple App Store or the Android Store. It's the easiest way to listen live to this radio station and download all the podcasts.
CC's everywhere. No compassion.
And next week, we're going to Orange County.
How exciting is this? Come see Johnny and I broadcast live from noon to 3 on Friday the 7th at Rove Santa Ana. Rove Santa Ana is a full-service EV charging station with 40 ultra-fast chargers, a 24/7 lounge with restrooms and free Wi-Fi, a car wash, and a premium convenience store recharged by Gelson's. There's going to be plenty of parking for non-EVs as well, and we're going to have free samples from vendors and barbecuing going on, so come hungry as we broadcast live. Rove and Recharge by Gelson's are located at 1008 East 17th Street in Santa Ana off the 5 at the corner of East 17th and Lincoln. We'll see you live Friday the 7th.
Let's go to Ray in Manhattan Beach. Ray, hello.
Hello. So why is it Gavin is allowed to start an investigation at something he's at fault for? We have sparks every year, but he left all the fuel on the ground where there might be a spark, which that's the ultimate cause of the fire is all the fuel. They didn't clear the brush. In Palos Verdes, they got goats roaming through the hills eating all the brush. But he's launching an investigation to point blame at somebody else. But they know that we get high winds. We know that there's a possibility that there could be a spark. But if you've got all the fuel on the ground, then disaster is going to happen, but they don't manage it. And it's absolutely disgusting what they're doing.
Well, what you just described is accurate. He is launching this investigation because he wants to clear himself and blame someone else.
Yeah, and it's unfair. And guess what? Every single property owner in California, we're going to get massive increases in our insurance because it's going to be spread across all of us. All the things he's doing, they talk about affordability of housing. Everything he's doing makes everything more expensive.
Without question. Thank you so much for the call, sir. We appreciate it. Right now, it's time to open up the California Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And today's edition takes us to Fresno.
A man who was supposed to be supervised after getting out of prison with an ankle monitor somehow took off the ankle monitor, broke into a woman's home, and stabbed her.
That's no good.
For more, here's ABC 30 in the Fresno area.
Chilling crime in Fresno County led to an arrest captured on camera by Action News. This is the man accused of beating and stabbing a stranger in her own home. We're now diving into the suspect's lengthy criminal history.
You don't say. He's got more than just a little bit of a record.
It's almost as if these things are predictable.
And why
Who decided this guy should get out?
And why he was out of custody after numerous run-ins with the law. Thanks for joining us tonight for Action News. I'm Warren Armstrong.
And good evening. I'm Margot Kim. Detectives are calling this an unprovoked attack. They say the suspect was supposed to be wearing an ankle monitor, but it was missing during his arrest yesterday.
Did he do the old snippety snip?
Did I ever tell you that there's a restaurant that I go to all the time, and one of the servers has one of those ankle monitors on?
Oh, my.
And every time I see it, I try to get someone at my table to ask them why they have the ankle monitor on, and no one will do it.
And you won't do it.
Of course not.
Action News reporter Brianna Willis joins us from the live desk tonight with what we're learning about the accused attacker's past. Brianna?
Well, Margot, Warren, I went through these local criminal complaints filed against 41-year-old Samuel Botello Rodriguez. Now, these date back to 2018 and show he's been convicted of felonies before. However, due to state law and being on post-release community supervision, he was allowed to roam the streets.
Of course.
There you go.
Action News was in Sanger as deputies once again arrested 41-year-old Samuel Botello Rodriguez on Tuesday.
You know he's bad because he's got 3 names.
Anytime they have 3 names, I'm telling you, they're either a serial killer or a feminist.
He's accused of randomly entering a woman's Fresno County home on Sunday before punching and stabbing her. The terrified victim survived after locking herself in a room until a family member came home and called 911. But when we spoke to the sheriff's office Tuesday, we learned this wasn't the suspect's first run-in with the law.
We've identified the man. He's a homeless person, 41 years old, Samuel Botello Rodriguez. He is on AB 109 for a prior burglary.
I haven't heard a more perfect explanation of our homeless problem until just now. The people we released on AB 109 are the homeless population.
And what they do is they say, well, if you understood the statistics, you would know that this never happens. Well, here it is, leading the news in Fresno.
Somebody who was let out of prison because we don't want to keep anybody in prison that's not violent was let out of prison because he has nowhere else to go. Now he's homeless. And what does he do? Stabs and punches a woman, obviously doing something violent. Thanks, Jerry Brown.
When people like that get bored, they get real stabby.
We learned this wasn't the suspect's first run-in with the law.
We've identified the man. He's a homeless person, 41 years old, Samuel Botello Rodriguez. He is on AB 109 for a prior burglary.
At what point do we do an audit when we look at the 180 or so thousand people that are homeless in the state of California and find out just how many of them were recently let out of prison in the last 15 years?
Well, you know, Randy, if you were smart enough to understand statistics, you know that letting people like this out of jail makes us safer.
Conviction.
AB 109 allows nonviolent, non-serious offenders to be supervised at the county level after they are released from state prison.
And since all the county jails are too full from that, they let everybody out.
That's the reality.
He's taken advantage of the system. There's no question about it. He's allowed to serve his time locally, but while he's out, he's committing other crimes.
We took a deep dive into Rodriguez's criminal history through the Fresno County Superior Court system. Documents show he faced felony charges for willfully and unlawfully threatening to commit a crime which would result in the death and great bodily injury in 2018.
Oh, and that's not a violent or a serious crime, I guess.
How does that not qualify?
If you only threaten to kill somebody and you don't actually kill them, that's not violent.
Well, good for him.
He also faced domestic violence charges in 2020.
Wait a second. That's not a violent crime?
Wait, violence is part of the name.
Yes, but this is something you have to go back to Prop 47, and this is something that was not fixed with Prop 36 because there were so many different categories of crime, and that was mostly focused on the drug addiction and the retail theft. But Prop 47 and subsequent laws reclassified domestic violence as a non-violent crime statutorily, which means domestic violence offenders don't go to prison.
I love the fact that all of these people who voted for this would probably regard themselves as being pro-woman or feminist, fill in the blank, however you want to define it. Yet they also regard beating up your old lady as being something that's not violent.
Another nonviolent crime? Assault on a police officer.
He also faced domestic violence charges in 2020 and was convicted for second-degree commercial burglary in 2023. Legal analyst Tony Capozzi says Rodriguez was released from custody in August of last year, but faced legal trouble again just months later.
You don't say. He did something else.
So while he's out, there's a violation against him in December of 2024, just a month ago. On December 24th, Christmas Eve, he goes into court. He was in custody. He was in court, and he asked the court to release him on his own recognizance. The court did release him based upon his promise to obey all laws and not to get in any more trouble.
What is the point of probation if as soon as somebody breaks the law again, we don't throw them right in the slammer?
And what a Christmas gift to the people of Fresno, unleashing this animal on the community.
But that promise was allegedly broken during the violent attack on January 19th.
He commits something very serious. He assaults, commits battery, stabs someone, very serious crimes, very aggravated crimes where death could have ensued. Luckily, there was no death in this particular case.
Whoa. Did he just say that stabbing a woman in her own house was violent?
He did.
Has he checked with Jerry Brown?
And in this stabbing case from over the weekend, Rodriguez was arrested on attempted murder and burglary charges with a bail set at $1 million. However, formal charges have not yet been filed by the district attorney's office. At the live desk, Brianna Willis, ABC 30 Action News.
There's somebody that multiple times we could have kept in prison away from the victims, away from the public. But no, we had to keep giving this guy chance after chance after chance after chance until he stabbed somebody.
You notice, by the way, that when they stab someone, they're homeless. If it was in any other context, he'd be an unhoused neighbor. I'm surprised they didn't say transient.
That's when you do stuff. If the stabbing had resulted in a murder, then he's a transient.
Well, we know that ever since crime started to spike in California, it's hard to buy shampoo that's not locked up behind bulletproof glass.
Not just shampoo.
How ghetto does it look that they have to lock up the socks?
Well, as it turns out, locking everything up at the Walgreens is costing Walgreens a lot of money.
Remember last year in San Francisco when a Walgreens decided they needed to, with chains and a big old lock up the frozen pizza and ice cream?
I guess everyone was stealing Ben and Jerry.
Turns out when you lock everything up, no one wants to shop there. So Walgreens earnings are way down. Here's a report from CBS 8 in San Diego.
We live in a fast-paced society. Something you need could be delivered to your doorstep overnight. So take it.
Are you kidding? Amazon does it same day now.
How come everyone tells me they get all their stuff the same day, and every time I order something, there's some kind of problem, and it takes forever?
You're cursed, my friend. It's all the gambling. Every time you win at the Buffalo machine, something bad happens to you.
Wonder 4, baby.
So taking the time to come into the store and even having to wait several minutes for a clerk to unlock your item is leading to a drop in sales.
It saddens me that we have to come this far.
Balancing shoplifting with customer convenience.
All of us have faced this with the increasing amount of security for basic needs like toothpaste, deodorant, soap.
Just last year, more than 100...
They're stealing. I don't think the homeless are stealing soap.
Yeah, there's no evidence of that, trust me.
Just last year, more than $100 billion in losses were reported due to theft, according to the National Retail Federation.
And how much of that was California?
Probably a huge portion of it.
Even with stiffer penalties, the growing number of thieves prompted Walgreens and many others to put everyday items in a locked box.
And in fact, we reported on this. There's a Rite Aid in Compton. Every single thing in the store is behind a lock.
Isn't that where Al Gore put the Social Security?
The lock box.
The company telling me they continue to be the most efficient solution to combating retail theft.
It's, the high-end merchandise stuff. Sometimes it's the vitamins, it's the makeup.
At a La Mesa Walgreens.
Sometimes it's the toothpicks.
At a La Mesa Walgreens today, it was the razors, Rogaine, and baby food formula under lock and key.
And by the way, most of these pharmacies, you walk around, they have maybe one employee doing the entire store. So you might have to wait behind 4 or 5 other people that need that employee to go unlock something on the total other end of the store. It is so inconvenient. There's no place where time moves slower these days than a pharmacy.
Well, and I'm sure most people listen to this and they say, oh, they're stealing baby formula. They need to feed their poor children. No, I think they're stealing the baby formula because it looks like white powder and they can mix it in with cocaine and short their customers.
That is something that happens.
Anyone who needs these items would...
They call that stepping on it.
Anyone who needs these items would need to call for customer service and wait.
When you push the little red button, they need to be more responsive to get there because you can wait 10, 15, 20 minutes.
If you ever see an employee who really doesn't want to be at their job, anybody that works at Rite Aid.
Well, who's got time for that? I had to press the button to request assistance from an associate to get something at the Walmart before Christmas. I waited there for 15 minutes and no one ever came. I just gave up.
It's almost like these retailers don't want your money.
That wait time is forcing some consumers to ditch what they came in for and head online.
If by the time you walk over to me and unlock the case, I can open my phone, use an app to order the thing and have it meet me at my house, you've got a business model problem.
Oh, yeah. And you can order things from Amazon very early in the morning. You can order very late at night. You can order on holidays. You can order on weekends. And you don't have to worry about someone sticking a gun in your face.
Do you think they have a chart at Amazon of how much ordering is done after last call?
I spoke to business attorney and analyst Parag Amin. He says when something is locked up, fewer than 1 in 3 people take the time to find an employee.
You've got to make it more.
Even that number seems low.
You've got to make it more convenient. You've got to make people want to actually physically come there.
So is the solution worse than the problem? As drugstores lose millions to theft, they're now also losing millions of dollars in sales due to the frustrated consumer.
And a lot of these retailers, they finally stepped up and they got the money behind Prop 36 and that passed. But they waited a very long time to do that. And they decided to advocate for things like locking everything up before they advocated for putting everyone back in prison.
Yeah, they should have gone for a Proposition 36 long before they did.
Walgreens just reported an earnings loss of $245 million last quarter compared to $39 million during the same time period 1 year ago.
The retailers are saying, look, we have a major problem, but I think it also creates a lot of unnecessary friction for customers.
So as retailers look to compete, you won't see the glass cases going away right away, but Walgreens tells me they continuously review the impact of these actions on sales and are testing new solutions. Now to help.
We're going to buy an even more irritating way for you not to get your toothpaste.
Whenever I stop at a Walgreens or a Rite Aid, it's not because I'm looking for a value. You know it's more expensive there than it is at Walmart or Costco or some of the other places. You stop in those stores because it's convenient. You're going to an Angel game when you realized, oh, crap, I forgot my sunblock. Let's go ahead and stop at the Rite Aid. But once you take the convenience angle out of it, and now you got to press the button, you got to wait for someone to come over to open up the case, and then you can get your suntan lotion and then be on your way. That's not a quick stop. That's a lengthy proposition.
And, John, I got to imagine you don't care for the looks you get from the one employee on the floor at Rite Aid when you're pushing that button that you want the ice cream.
Oh, yes. I just keep pressing the button like a morphine drip.
Now, to help offset some of their losses, hundreds of Walgreens stores will be closing by the end of this year. None, though.
Including several in San Francisco.
But crime is not the reason. They'll tell you that.
None, though, here in San Diego. Reporting.
Gee, I wonder why they're not closing them in San Diego, but they are in San Francisco.
I wonder what's going on with the ones in Oakland and Vallejo.
Oh, they were gone a long time ago.
There you go. You're not going to have quite as many Walgreens to shop at thanks to crime.
What are some of your concerns?
Crime,